Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take you back to the year 1937 when an airship called Hindenburg exploded in America's New Jersey, killing 36 people on board. This was a luxury airliner which served cigars and caviar to its VIP passengers, but unfortunately its plush quarters sat on 7 million cubic feet of hydrogen gas. In fact, all it took was a single spark which turned the airship into a raging inferno in just 34 seconds. In 2017, Nate Anderson founded the Hindenburg Research to avoid man-made disasters. But look at the irony. Just like the airship, even this venture named Hindenburg has gone up in flames. Days before President Donald Trump takes office in the United States, the founder of the US-based short seller decided to disband his agency, his organization. He ambiguously said that the plan has been to wind up after we finish the pipeline of ideas we were working on. Anderson, however, boasted about his influence, saying we shook some empires that we felt needed shaking. The firm rose to prominence after publishing damaging reports about Indian industrialist and his firms Gautam Adani wiping billions of dollars in the Adani Group stocks market valuation. The Hindenburg report, published in January 2023, is believed to have led to a massive $150 billion decline in share prices. While the Adani Group dismissed the report as nothing but a lie and calculated attacks on India, Rahul Gandhi and his alliance partners weaponized it to target Prime Minister Modi throughout the Lok Sabha polls, and the narrative was built only around this Hindenburg report. They demanded a JPC probe into the Hindenburg report and repeatedly disrupted Parliament and hit the streets in protest. They coined the term Modani to target Prime Minister Modi and Adani and made it a rallying point for the 2024 Lok Sabha election campaign. Today, when Hindenburg Research has unceremoniously shut shop, has Rahul Gandhi's attack also fizzled and flopped? Are the Khatakat attacks based on a foreign short seller going to backfire on the Congress? Watch how the BJP today has gone on the offensive, alleging that Sazish Supari syndicate conspired to create an economic anarchy in India and played its hand through the Congress party. Meanwhile, the Congress is at a loss for words, but an explanation to the nation is certainly what would be in order. Listen in to the war of words.
हिंडनबर्ग अपनी दुकान बंद कर रहा है, तो क्या राहुल जी उसकी दुकान का ठेका आपको मिल गया है क्या? इंडियन स्टेट के खिलाफ गैर जिम्मेदाराना हरकत कौन करता है? हिंडनबर्ग करता है।
एक रिसर्च संस्था है, उसके मालिक ने घोषणा की है कि वो रिसर्च संस्था वो बंद करने वाले हैं। इसका माने ये नहीं है कि मोडानी को एक क्लीन चिट मिला है।
देखिए, ये जो साजिशी सुपारी सिंडिकेट है, ये भारत के खिलाफ षड्यंत्रों और साजिशों, भारत के आर्थिक ताने बाने के खिलाफ जो है वो दुष्प्रचार करना साजिशी सुपारी सिंडिकेट का काम रहा है। लेकिन ये खुशी की बात है कि दुनिया भी इस बात को अच्छी तरह महसूस करने लगा है, समझने लगा है कि ये साजिशी जो सुपारी सिंडिकेट है, ऐसा कोई सगा नहीं जिसको उसने ठगा नहीं।
Sir, on the Hindenburg report, the Hindenburg has said that they are going to shut down.
How does it concern any political party?
How Hindenburg was weaponized. While the veracity of the Hindenburg reports have been widely contested, let's tell you how it was used for political dividends by the opposition. After all, politics is all about perceptions, not proof. And perceptions is what the Congress party and the opposition wanted to swing. Right after the Hindenburg report on Adani, Congress and its allies disrupted the 2023 budget session of Parliament with chants of Modani. Rahul Gandhi also showed old pictures of Prime Minister Modi and Gautam Adani on the floor of Parliament, alleging collusion. They also organized nationwide protests demanding a JPC probe. In March 2023, the India Alliance wrote to the Enforcement Directorate demanding a probe in this entire issue as well. By August, the Congress latched on to Hindenburg's report on the SEBI chief, Madhvi Puri Butch, and held another nationwide protest. The 2024 winter session too was washed out in the wave of disruptions. Rahul Gandhi and company wore caps and t-shirts saying, Modi Adani ek hai to safe hai. Watch some of this drama directed by Rahul Gandhi using the Hindenburg report to target Prime Minister Modi.
एक है तो सेफ हैं, एक कौन है? एक नरेंद्र मोदी जी हैं, अदानी जी हैं, अमित शाह जी हैं। सेफ है तो कौन सेफ है? क्या हो रहा है आजकल? क्या हो रहा है भाई?
आजकल मैं जो भी बोलता हूँ ये करता है।
अच्छा,
मेरे लिए करता है।
तो आपका रिश्ता, आपके रिश्ते के बारे में थोड़ा बताइए भाई।
हम दोनों का एक ही है। मैं जो भी बोलता हूँ
हाँ,
दोनों मिलकर सब करेंगे।
हम चाहते हैं कि अदानी जी को एकदम अरेस्ट किया जाए।
So, ladies and gentlemen, the Motorola legitimate question we're asking on the Newshour tonight. Has Rahul Gandhi's Modani strike flopped? Does Rahul Gandhi owe an explanation to the country as his main supporter, main alliance partner, Hindenburg, closes shop, blows up into flames without an explanation? That's the question and that's the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate tonight, Shehzad Poonawalla, national spokesperson of the BJP. Also joining me tonight, Suhail Seth, columnist, man who has helped many companies with their marketing projects, marketing guru. Rajiv Malhotra, author, also joining the debate. Vivek Silas, national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Vivek Srivastava, political analyst, leading the charge against the Modi Sarkar. But tonight my first question goes to Tehseen Poonawalla, supporter of the Congress Party, a man who led the charge brigade against Prime Minister Modi on the basis of the Hindenburg report. Tehseen Poonawalla, I really want to present you a bouquet of flowers today because your only alliance partner, Hindenburg, is now up in flames. It's up in the gas, just like the Hindenburg balloon. It's gone up in flames, up in the air. Tehseen Poonawalla, I'm asking you tonight, did you wipe off or did Rahul Gandhi help in wiping off hard-earned money, 150 billion US dollars of Indians who invested in the stock market by this fake charge that you led against Prime Minister Modi on the basis of Hindenburg, a company that has wound up crucially before President Trump takes over on the 20th of January, clearly giving signals that he would not have survived the onslaught. So pack up your bags, hide behind a bush and just hope everybody forgets you. Tehseen Poonawalla, does Rahul Gandhi owe an explanation to the nation tonight?
Grateful for the bouquet of flowers, ma'am. I hope the flowers have only flowers and no thorns in it because the questions were quite thorny. But nevertheless, let me attempt to answer 2 or 3 of the pertinent questions you've raised. Did the report raise structural questions about India's regulators? Yes. This is not about A group or B group. This is about the regulators that questions must be asked. It is the job of the opposition to ask questions about the investors, about the regulators, because only when the regulatory mechanism of India will be safe, will more investors come in and will the Indian prosperity grow. That's point number 1. Am I a fan of the said group that shut down the report group, the Hindenburg group? No, I'm not. In fact, I've been one to ask that they shut down. They've not been the most transparent. They've been opaque about why they've shut down. But the structural questions that they asked have still not been answered. And I think they deserve an answer to all of us because we all want the Indian success story. There's a third thing that I want to ask, and I want to put it out here. Should there be monopoly in Indian markets? Because monopoly leads to extortion. Is a question the reports must again, viewers must of times now will answer. The opposition asked legitimate questions. Should those questions have been put more articulately? Perhaps Perhaps yes. Should they have been put in a more subtle manner? Perhaps yes. Are those questions still remaining? Yes. We haven't got answers to the regulatory mechanism for the amount of time that they have. And one thing, why are all BJP supporters supporting the shutting down of Hindenburg? Why are all BJP supporters supporting this group? That is the question you need to ask. Why are they dancing with joy? That is the question that needs to be asked.
Well, Shehzad Poonawalla, let me get you into the debate. Tehseen Poonawalla says the questions remain. But was this the way questions needed to be asked by the Congress party and alliance partners, members of parliament from the Trinamool Congress as well? Is this the way that questions should be asked, by creating complete distrust in the institutions that exist in India? Do you ask questions, and are you as opposition authorized to ask questions after wiping away $150 billion from the stock markets, money that was owned by people who invested in it? People, middle class, lower middle class, who had faith in the stock market? Is this the price those people have had to pay for the questions that the Congress has raised?
First of all, Navika, you should not be sending bouquet. Today you must be sending tissue paper, or you must send रुमाल to Tehseen Poonawalla, because जब तक राहुल और हिंडनबर्ग एक थे तब तक वो सेफ थे, पर पार्लियामेंट का सेशन अनसेफ था, और इन दोनों इकोनॉमिक हिटमैन, इन दोनों इकोनॉमिक सुपारीबाज के चलते हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था अनसेफ थी, छोटे निवेशकों के पैसे अनसेफ थे. टू आंसर तहसीन's question first, no, the BJP is not overjoyed by either proposition of what Hindenburg does, but Mr. Sharad Pawar is on record, and Google it right now, Tehseen, that he was the first one to say that Hindenburg report seems to be a targeted affair against a particular conglomerate. This is Sharad Pawar's statement, not mine. Now, having said that, this is the third vindication, Navika, if you see. First vindication was when the Supreme Court thrashed the Hindenburg report on the questions Tehseen asked. And let me just quote two things that Supreme Court said. One, where is the proof? Two, how can we say what you're showing is credible? Three, I'll quote some more. It is not conclusive, it is unreliable. In fact, Supreme Court ordered investigation into the transactions and the dealings of Hindenburg, which was growing or profiteering at the expense of the Indian investor by shorting the markets, by creating panic on the basis of propaganda. There is an ongoing case on them. Already there is a case in the United States by the Department of Justice. Even then, Rahul Gandhi considered Hindenburg to be the voice of God, or to be the gospel of God. Now, I just want to ask 3 or 4 questions. If Rahul Gandhi's allegations were so substantive, why is it that his own allied partners, Sharad Pawar ji, TMC, Samajwadi Party, none of them bought this? Point number 1. Point number 2, was this all a sahyog, और if it is a सोचा समझा प्रयोग and उद्योग, I'll tell you why. कल तो एक दुकान बंद हुई है, पर कल एक दुकान शुरू भी हुई है. And look at the linkage. Soros says कि $1 billion is there for disturbing the Indian economy. Soros backs Hindenburg. Soros backs OCCRP. Soros backs a number of other organizations. And ये Soros भवन में क्या प्लान हो रहा था कि राहुल गांधी को जैसे रिपोर्ट आती थी पार्लियामेंट सेशन को हाईजैक करने के लिए, कभी पेगासस की रिपोर्ट, पार्लियामेंट सेशन हाईजैक, रफाल रिपोर्ट, पार्लियामेंट सेशन हाईजैक. Then at the time when they were saying we want discussion on this and that, they would bring yet another international report, Hindenburg report. Even though Supreme Court clarified, they would keep Parliament hostage. And therefore my question is only this, Tehseen Poonawalla, that today you are in tears because the main tool from your toolkit has been taken out of your hand.
May I respond?
Well, I only wanted to give a bouquet of flowers to Tehseen Poonawalla, because that's what Gandhigiri is all about. You give flowers and say get well soon, because they've hijacked the agenda. They have made entrepreneurship and profit in this country as bad words. They have wiped off market and hard-earned money of investors, of Indians that were put in the stock market. And today they say, oh, some of the questions do stay. I want to ask Vivek Srivastava today, where will you go and hide your face today? Won't the people of India ask you to answer them on what made you wipe out $150 billion of their hard-earned money? The question here is that Hindenburg was completely thrown out by the Supreme Court. You didn't believe it. You went on and on and on. The hypocrisy on this entire issue, on the Adani affair, has been so far just one-sided charges and attacks, and you've never taken any explanation on board and followed them. You have created false propaganda and gone after the Adanis, you've gone after the Prime Minister. Tonight I want to ask you, Hindenburg shut shop without you even knowing about it. Do you at least feel used and abused, and the fact that you've been made a fool of, Vivek Srivastava?
No, absolutely not. I mean, had it been an Indian journalist or an India media house and it questioned Adani and said that there are some reports that we feel something is questionable, something needs to be investigated, what do you want? The media house to shut down? You don't want the journalists to investigate? Yes, this is a short-selling company, that's a different issue. But everybody in this world has a right to question people. And we, as Tehseen rightly said, and why should we allow Mr. Adani to have a monopoly? Or koi kuch galat karta hai to share bazaar na gire, iske liye investigate hi na karo. This is a great logic. Tomorrow we should not investigate the Tatas, we should not investigate other companies just for the fear कि भैया कुछ गलत है चलने दो, कहीं कुछ अगर निकल आया तो शेयर मार्केट क्रैश कर जाएगा, क्रैश होने दो. If something is wrong, something has to come out. And Hindenburg is very clear. It started as a team of about 11 people. And Anderson is very clear that things are not shutting down for good. He is very, very clearly, the next 6 months he is going to do an open source kind of a thing. The public is going to be involved, and all the processes that the Hindenburg followed in the various cases, it is going to be out in public. Next 2 years, majority of the people who are a part of this 11-member team are going to start their own research teams and ventures.
Touching
faith. Don't think Hindenburg is over, so things
touching faith.
Navika, 10 seconds.
Vivek Srivastava, I'm so touched. I'm so touched by the faith that you have in Hindenburg, even after it has shut shop. Shehzad.
So what? They have a right to.
Just 10 seconds. Navika, the irony of ironies, Vivekji.
Yeah.
Vivekji, just 10 seconds. The irony of ironies is that in Kerala, the Congress party, when it was opposing this Adani issue in Parliament, the left government gave a supplementary contract to Adani for Vizhinjam Port and took credit for it. In Bengal, Tajpur Port is given by Mamata Banerjee. Akhilesh Yadav says Hindenburg, Adani is not an important issue. In Maharashtra, Sharad Pawar is best friends with Adani. In Maharashtra, you also see Uddhav Thackeray gave the MBA, during the MBA tenure gave the Dighi port. And in Chhattisgarh, we have seen Bhupesh Baghel. In Telangana, we have seen Revant Reddy. In Rajasthan, we've seen Ashok Gehlot. All are bum chums with the same group, and now they will take a moral high ground. So I will tell you that why don't you cancel
the terms and conditions are different in different states.
And last point. Let me show.
No, absolutely not. It is very immature.
What do you mean?
Like that.
Shehzad Poonawalla, I contest.
How is one?
Shehzad Poonawalla, I contest your premise that they are taking a moral high ground. Morality hai nahi, bhai. Morality hai kahan? When they picked up the Hindenburg report, they knew it was a short-selling company. It was doing this for profit. That is the way they have made profit. Today, when they have shut shop, these people are busy saving face. But Suhail Seth, I want to ask you, should there be serious repercussions for those who raised this hue and cry, wiped off investors' money? Vivek Srivastava with impunity says, so what if the stock market fell? So what if investors' money just went down the tube? Hard-earned money of middle-class India went down the tube. Of course, Vivek Srivastava ko farak nahi padta, Congress party ko farak nahi padta. But do you think time has come that people of this country demand that these people should pay the price, and they cannot get away with impunity of making such charges on the back of dubious firms and wiping out India's wealth?
So let me begin by responding to Tehseen Poonawalla, who's kept using the word structural. The biggest stock market scams and manipulation of the markets happened under the Congress regime. Whether it was Harshad Mehta, whether it was Ketan Parekh, they happened at that point in time. Please understand the genesis of the Securities and Exchange Board of India. SEBI was created because the primary investors in our stock markets needed protection. Number two, Vivek Srivastava, who is normally very logical, is now comparing Hindenburg to a media house. Media houses don't profit. I mean, most media houses don't profit from negative news or false news or fake news. Here, Hindenburg has clearly established itself, and it's a known fact, they haven't hidden it from anyone, that they are short sellers. So they had a motive in putting out whatever they did. The shutting down of Hindenburg is not an attribution to, someone is right, someone is wrong. There was and there remains a clear anti-agenda stance across the globe. They are envious of the progress that India is making. They are envious of the economic path that India has now got. And they are jealous of the fact that we can continue to be who we are. Now come to conglomerate monopolies. Look at the Adanis. A port doesn't take 4, 5, 6 years. It takes 12 years to build. These businesses began under a Congress regime. But I'm not stupid enough to say that the Congress was in cahoots with a particular conglomerate. All of this is for India. Please don't use words like monopolies when you don't understand. Each of these businesses is tendered. Each of these businesses is in the open public domain. Each of these businesses is liable to scrutiny by courts. What happened with Hindenburg? You went to the Supreme Court of India. Now, yesterday, Rahul Gandhi has also dismayed us by saying he has no faith in the Indian state, of which the Supreme Court is a part. But let that be. You went to the Supreme Court. You had an investigation. The Supreme Court said there is nothing of substance in the Hindenburg report. You still didn't believe it. Hindenburg goes up in flames. Now you say, oh, they'll be back in 6 months, as if you are privy to their business plan. The reality is as follows. Indians are the biggest enemies of themselves when they choose to be. The entire media, sections of the media, sections of the so-called liberal wokes went hammer and tongs saying, oh, look, India has a structural fallacy. What you did were two things. Not only did you wipe out $150 billion, you also wiped off the faith of international investors in the Indian stock market and in the Indian economy. That is a bigger crime than what you have done. Now to answer Navika's question, what will happen? Sadly, Navika, the defamation laws in our country suck. They are miserable. Otherwise, in any other country, people would have taken them to the cleaners. And people would have taken those people within our country who were creating this kind of an absolute brouhaha, saying, oh, the markets have been capitalized and the markets have been captured. I think it's a great vindication for India. I'm not even talking about a conglomerate. It's a great vindication of India's so-called, as Tehseen uses, structural efficiency. Because what has happened? You have seen that the Indian economy has bounced. The share prices of conglomerate A or B have bounced back. Look, the primary investor has faith not because the company is Indian, but because the businesses are robust. And we are seeing that these businesses are improving. These businesses are contributing. And some of these businesses are what I would call national assets.
And you say the businesses are robust.
I didn't interrupt you. Vivek, when have you got this recent habit of interrupting people? I'm not
interrupting you.
No, this is a recent habit you've
developed. What about Anil Ambani's writing of loans?
I think this must be due to the winter flu. Let me finish.
I'm not.
My point here is...
Let me assure you, Suhail, it's not a recent habit.
Yeah, please comment on Anil Ambani also.
He was always well behaved. You see, Ashok Mitra, who was a famous communist, was the only person who said, I'm a communist, not a gentleman. I never imagined that he would use this sobriquet for himself. Vivek, that is. So anyway, I'll just end by saying, and you've got Rajiv on the program, there is and remains a clear anti-India cabal across the world, more so in America. Funded, fueled by George Soros or whoever the hell it is. But the reality is India does not need certificates of structural control from America, which, by the way, has had a scam every decade. What happened with Lehman Brothers? What happened with the crash? What happened to Bernie Madoff? What happened to Mike Milken? So let America not teach India about values and structure.
What happened to Lehman Brothers?
They're a bunch of rogues, and I'm glad one has gone out of business. Now Vivek, interrupt.
Yeah, somebody mismanages his business and the stocks crash.
Let me get in Rajiv Malhotra. Rajiv Malhotra. Vivek Srivastava.
You have not commented
why don't you
on
take
Mr. Anil Ambani's bad debts being written off.
Every single issue on which you wanted to corner the Prime Minister has fizzled out on its own. आप ऐसा है, आप अगर एस्ट्रोलॉजी में मानते हैं ना, तो आप थोड़ा सा अपने सितारे दिखवा लीजिए. क्योंकि nothing is going your way anymore. Modi is back for a third term. Hindenburg has wound up shop. None of your charges have worked. So kindly go back to the drawing board. Go back to the drawing board and think of another strategy, if at all you use any of your own thinking faculties, because these days you have outsourced everything to George Soros and organizations like Hindenburg. Try and find your own thinking cap, wear it and try and make something of a sustainable attack on the Prime Minister, which is absolutely indigenous, thought by you and investigated by you. But let me get in Rajiv Malhotra. Rajiv Malhotra, I want to ask you, Hindenburg shut shop soon after Congressman Anderson's announcement that came shortly after the Republican, when the Republican congressman requested the U.S. Department of Justice to preserve all documents and documentations related to the investigations involving Adani and his companies, coinciding with the transition of the Trump administration into office. Do you see anything common? Do you see a larger game plan for which the Indian opposition parties were used?
So thank you very much for inviting me. Let me back off and give a totally different context in which I'm going to present my facts. I'm US based for the last 55 years. I'm not an expert on Indian politics, but I am an expert on United States politics, past, present and future. And I'm going tomorrow to the Trump inauguration, where I've been invited for 3 days, because besides the swearing in, there's about 5 very, very strategic VIP only invited banquets and galas where I hope to meet some people to understand these phenomena further. But let me just tell you this, that with the arrival of people like Kash Patel, head of the FBI, he's the nominee and likely to be confirmed, and the arrival of many other people like Rubio as the new Secretary of State, totally overturning Secretary Blinken's use of the State Department against India and other things, including in Bangladesh. With this shift, it is highly likely that there are people running for cover. I mean, you've seen how Mark Zuckerberg has suddenly become a Trump fan while being one of the worst critics, and similarly Jeff Bezos. They're all sort of giving millions of dollars, and some of these banquets I've invited to are actually funded by these people. So there is a huge shift that people in India need to understand. They need to understand the American politics, why Hindenburg was targeted in this way against India, who was behind it, what did these people have to do with the overthrow of the coup in Bangladesh, which is actually the case. There's similar people, there is the Clinton Foundation which groomed Yusuf Muhammad. They gave him all these awards, got him all these awards, Muhammad Yusuf. So they have a role. Yes, you're right. They have a role in this. The Bangladesh coup, which is actually a coup, they had a role in this. And Soros is one of the funding people, but so is Pierre Omidyar, who has been removed, or he's decided to get out of India. We wrote a book on him. This book, Snakes in the Ganga, and he. And there's a whole chapter on Omidyar, and he within a month or two decided to pack his bags and leave. So the conspiracy that is the origin of the conspiracy is American politics. The effect of the conspiracy is in India and Indian politics. But the discussion should start on why is this happening in the American politics, and what's the likely shift with the new administration. So the new administration is anti-woke. That is the platform on which they ran. That is what the mandate is from the entire country, whether it is China, whether it is the southern border, whether it's all these weaponization going on. So people like Hindenburg are on the run. This is my theory, but I'm going to find out by Tuesday when I'll be back. I'll have a different perspective, because I'll be part of several conversations in Washington on these very issues. So some people in the Democratic Party is splitting. there's a civil war going on between those who are switching over because they've had enough of woke. They're shutting down DEI, the diversity, equity, inclusion, that kind of nonsense, which, by the way, has entered Indian industry. Indian industry is very proudly, all these corporate people in India are into DEI in a big way to suck up to the Western and the American, champions of this kind of movement. So in the Democratic Party, there are those who are jumping out of DEI very quickly. Every day new companies are announcing, like Walmart announced they're going to not have DEI and so on. And those who are hardening their ultra-left position. So the Democratic Party is having this ideological civil war. And you are seeing some people like Hindenburg wanting to get out, wait for 6 months, see where the dust settles, and then maybe re-enter the market in some other incarnation, some other avatar or whatever. They might do that. So you need to understand a few things. One is that if you look at this as an American originated thing, which it is, you have to look at why. And what's the global ideology of certain people in this country to intervene, whether it is, they are the ones who actually also overthrew the previous Ukraine. Democratically elected president, which allowed the current Ukraine president to be come into power. Omi Diyar was one of those guys into this, and the CIA helped him. Okay. So this weaponization of the Justice Department, of the FBI, of the CIA, all masterminded by the State Department, because the State Department manages the policy, the strategy, and these guys go and implement it. And people like Hindenburg are just one of several think tanks. They are the back office people who do all this mischief. So there's a new thing, the new situation in the U.S., and I would say one of the most important persons that people in other countries, including India, must take note of is Rubio, because Marco Rubio is a new, completely different thinker, likely to be confirmed as head of the State Department. And you have to sort of see where he comes out.
But the fact is, while this must be happening in America, the fact is also that they found alliance partners right here in India. And I want to ask Vivek Silas. Vivek Silas, did your party play into the hands? Did you play into the hands of those forces that are inimical to India? And did the opposition become a tool in the hands of those who wanted to change India's destiny, not only through its political formation, but also through its own industry and wealth creators?
So I would say that Rahul Gandhi is a useful idiot that they have found. That's probably the way to say it. And he's just running around because it gives him some sense of importance.
I think you have no right to be talking about my leader of opposition in that tone. You have no business to be talking about the leader of opposition of this country in that tone.
I have a right to
You can have your personal opinion in your bedroom. Not here on the national TV. He is the leader of an opposition party of this country. And be it BJP or my Prime Minister or my leader of opposition, kindly control your tongue.
No, you kindly control.
The fact is,
you have no right to give.
I have my freedom of speech.
But actually, 1 minute, useful idiot is a term used in Shakespearean English.
This is not freedom of
speech. But Vivek, my friend, Vivek, useful idiot is a term used in English, in Shakespearean English. If you study Shakespeare, he uses the phrase useful idiot. It is not an insult.
Vivek, Vivek has not heard of any original. Vivek Srivastava has not heard of any original research works, certainly may not have heard of Shakespeare, but let me get in Vivek Silas. Vivek Silas, the question is there. Did the opposition walk into a trap and hurt India in... I'm asking Vivek Silas.
Yes, ma'am. I know
Srivastava is beyond any more knowledge, but Vivek Silas.
Yes.
Please respond.
Yes. No, as far as Nathan Anderson is concerned, I think, as you just now said, that India was dented by, about $150 billion by this report. I think this should not be taken lightly by the Indian government, because if such a huge amount of economy or the investments are taken back or the Sensex has fallen.
आपको आज याद आ रहा है?
Let me.
अब आपको आज याद आ रहा है?
Let me complete, ma'am.
After Nathan Anderson said it, when Indians say it, you didn't remember.
Ma'am, let me complete. I was coming to that point itself, you know, but I don't know why you interrupted in between. Anyway, but I think a case should be filed if you have done so much. But Hindenburg closing down his company in the US doesn't mean it is a clean sheet to Mr. Adani, because cases are going against him even in the US. Investigations are going against him in Australia, Kenya, Bangladesh, Australia, everywhere, you know.
Navika.
Even Sri Lanka. The Sri Lankan president says that the government is actually ruled by Adani. That is what the...
Heard you, Vivek Silas, heard you. Shehzad, please respond. Lowering your fader, Vivek Silas. Shehzad, please respond.
Thank you. Navika, you know what Suhail said is actually the crux of the debate today. Rahul Gandhi yesterday, when he was opening up a new shop, has said that I will target and attack the Indian state. What is the Indian state? Indian state is Indian institutions governed by the constitution, which he routinely attacks, even though Omar Abdullah and others don't agree with him. Indian state is Indian economy, which he is attacking using Hindenburg. Indian state is Indian army, Indian Sena, which he has questioned and asked for proof for the surgical strike. So this Indian state attack is actually attack on all elements of the state, which includes the economy. And just let me show you one video. Tehseen was saying structural issues. Here is Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary showing which structural issues he wants to raise.
मुमकिन है चुनाव लड़ने एक बैग पैसे से बन जाएगा अडानी अंबानी बड़ा नोट मिले तो एक बैग से बन जाएगा आपका चुनाव जैसे लोगों को मिल जाएगी तो मैं तो बीपीएल हूं.
He says that अडानी अंबानी से एक बैग बड़ा नोट मिल जाएगा तो हम पार्लियामेंट में इशू नहीं उठाएंगे. He has said this in an interview. तो तहसीन पूनावाला ये है आपका स्ट्रक्चरल इशू. मोनोपोली तब होती थी when there was one company and license raj was there. Today there are 400 startups, 1 lakh startups.
Tehseen Poonawalla, does the Congress not owe an apology and an explanation to the nation, not just for damaging the reputation of India, but also for completely subverting the institutions of India?
Rajiv, at the onset, all the best on your 3 or 4 day VIP program. I wish you success and success on behalf of India. There are two issues that I want to bring up. Issue number one, I think it is a job of the opposition to raise questions. These are questions, for example, how this particular group got an airport. See, there are a lot of groups in India that do business. The Tatas are a brilliant group. Nobody is raising questions on them. But when an airport goes away and there are allegations of misuse of agencies, these are questions you must ask, get answers to and move on. But I do agree to the perception. Please allow me. Please allow me. Please allow me to.
Tehseen Poonawalla to raise questions. But no, I'm running out of time and I do not have time for you making this painstaking point when the fig leaf of any sort of honor in the right to raise questions has been taken away today with this complete wrap-up of the Hindenburg organization. I just want to say this. Yes, raise questions. Find your own way to raise those questions. Do not become a pawn in the hands of anti-India forces, because this is exactly what the opposition led by Rahul Gandhi has done. This particular development about Hindenburg points to that, and clearly India lost in that battle, whether or not the elections were won by Modi. The fact of the matter is, stop putting Indians against each other. Stop becoming pawns that are playing into the hands of anti-India forces, because tonight, I think, the world has seen a new picture. And this picture takes the sheen off the so-called moral fight that the opposition has been leading. We leave it at that. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me on the Newshour tonight. On the other side, from the comb, Sadhguru joins me on this very, very interesting conversation.